Hello and welcome back to More Than a Muse podcast. My name is Sadie.
I'm Stauney and happy Tuesday. Hope all of you had a wonderful MLK Jr. Day yesterday.
Yes.
And we didn't celebrate anything else.
Nope.
That was it.
Happy MLK Day, everybody.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a delayed episode because of the holiday, but we're excited to be back. I want to start off with like a very brief introduction about what More Than a Muse is, just because I feel like we had a little bit of an uptick in subscribers and listeners last week, which is awesome. We took a couple months off and then we came back to like a really good performing episode. So that was a treat.
Thank you all.
But I want to say, so we're More Than a Muse podcast. Every other week, we either are talking about some like a topic or a discussion about women in the arts or feminism. Sometimes it's pop culture, what's happening right now. Other times it's history. And then we also find women figures from history that are unsung and unrecognized. And we tell their stories here, which was the idea that like initially inspired this podcast, is because we both were college students. I was in a music history class. You were in an art history class. We were never learning about women, but we knew they were there. And so this podcast was to prove it.
A little hints about them. They were like, we are not getting the full story. So,
absolutely not.
But it's been wonderful. I mean, we've been going this is our 4th year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a large backlog of episodes. And if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, but we didn't get into the video game until last year. And even then, we didn't get all of them up. The goal is to be better this year.
And I don't know if you noticed that our lighting is a little bit more sophisticated from last week. We are slowly working on upgrading our podcast studio.
We're trying. There's going to be more of a backdrop eventually and a whole lot of other things. We are not making any money from this podcast right now. So
unless you buy our merch, which we are accidentally twinning today.
Yes, we are. It's a very fitting, I feel like, and for the time of year we're at. But
exactly,
this is our Myths of Madness sweatshirt. This is the one in the dark colors that we released for Halloween.
Yep.
And it just has all of the different creatures and things that women are called when they're angry. Very fitting. It's a subtle way to express your rage, which we are all about here.
I feel like every time I wear mine out, I get compliments. Like I went to a coffee shop and the barista was like, love that. I'm like, thanks. It's for a podcast called More Than a Muse. You should check it out. Didn't say it was my podcast, but you know, it's fine. Just some random podcast.
Yeah. No, it's a fun one. We have it in lighter colors too, if you want to wear that instead. And I think we'll probably come up with another way to incorporate it for this upcoming March.
Madness.
Yes, is our March Madness. We do a whole month during Women's History Month focused on feminine rage. Started it last year, so very excited about that. We have lots of plans, and there will be more merch for you all if you want to help contribute to the lighting and backdrop fund. So thank you.
Our YouTube studio could be amazing.
We could get there eventually.
We could. Totally. Well, anyways, anything that you would like to bring up before you just tell us about this artist today?
There's just one thing, but like I personally don't have any like non-binary friends that I can think of. But today's Monday, and with Donald Trump getting up and just stating like from now on the United States of America only has 2 genders, male and female, just makes my heart hurt for anyone out there that like doesn't identify as either of those. And like I can't imagine not feeling safe in your own country. And like we are experiencing that as women, especially like coming up on this year, but also like just having the president of the United States just deny your existence in his inauguration speech. Like, I don't know. It made me really sad. And that was the ones that hurt the most, because I know that like, there's a whole community of people who don't identify as one or the other. And then they're going to be dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Like, I hope we can be a safe space for everybody. And especially as a lot of the minority programs roll back and everything, like we're still here. We don't have any government funding anyway, so they can't take it away. Just, I don't know. It was a heavy day. So
here's to the next couple years. But despite whatever's happening in the world, like you said, I feel like at the very least of what we can do is create safe spaces and be there for people and, you know, do what you can, which I don't know. That's
our goal, right? We're here and this is our own form of protest against the standards of our education system and our country and everything else. So
sometimes I'll think to myself of like, well, everyone agrees with what I'm talking about anyways. So like, am I making that, am I doing anything actually? And then our YouTube videos or YouTube shorts or Instagram reels will get on the wrong side of the internet and then we'll be called like hateful, conforming, slimy feminists. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I realized that like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
It is. It's a scary little world out there.
I live in the bubble of my friends and the people I love. And I forget.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You're loved. You're welcome here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All of you are welcome here. I should say that. Even if you don't agree with us, like we welcome you to come and listen. Maybe it'll change your mind.
Absolutely. And then one more other thing too is if we do ever get things wrong or if we accidentally say anything offensive, like, I want this to be a space in a community where you can be like, hey, that was incorrect, or hey, that was wrong. Even last week, our Nosferatu episode that we did, we misspoke a little bit about like what happened in the book Dracula. Like, we had a couple people that were just respectfully like, oh, actually, like, that was wrong. This is what happened in the book. And it was like, oh, cool. Sorry, we got that mixed up. Thank you for telling us. And like, we are not experts when we come on this podcast. We just love learning and we are very passionate about learning about women in the arts. And when we learn things every week, we share it with you.
Yes.
So point being is, I think we're smart people. I think we're educated people.
We try our
not
best.
Experts in this field. And so if we do ever get something wrong, or like I said, if we ever like accidentally say something that was like not appropriate or anyway, like,
definitely.
I can take the critique. I would love the critique and like, please offer correction when need be.
Yeah,
Safe
Instagram
space for that.
DMs are open. We check them often. You can also leave comments on Spotify with each episode. Please do. Like, I wish we had time to research everything, run it through a fact checker, and have a whole dissertation to present each week, but we obviously don't. So we
scratch the surface and offer rabbit holes for you to go down if you like where we get started.
Yes. With all of that said.
Wow, so many disclaimers at the beginning of this episode.
But that's okay. It's, new year and everything. So, well, we're actually talking about Jane Birkin this week, who is not necessarily an unknown name, but I don't feel like very many people could say very much about her.
No.
For example, I always thought she was a model. And she actually was an actress.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
See? Right off
there we
go. So there's very little that I feel like a lot of us even know about her. And then beyond that, what she's kind of become most famous for is the Birkin Bag, which has a long, sordid history.
I'm excited to learn about that. I think the thing that surprises me, and in a good way, is that it's actually a woman, because there's a lot of famous fashion houses that you realize that's actually just the last name of a man. So I'm like, cool. The Birkin Bag is actually a woman. How exciting. Yes.
Actually, their other famous bag that they have too is named after Grace Kelly. So it's the Kelly or the Mini Kelly, which I think was more of an ode to her rather than like a direct collaboration, which this started out as. So
cool.
A little different of origins there. I don't even know if Grace Kelly ever even had a Kelly bag. Please let me know if you do know. I'm very curious. But we do know that Jane Birkin did own a couple of Birkin bags in her life. Okay, so Jane Mallory Birkin was born on December 14th, 1946. And she actually passed away last year. So,
wow.
So she was around for a while. She passed around in 2 years ago, July of 2023. I have not realized that this is 2025 yet.
That's fair.
We'll get there.
We're 20 days in. That's it.
Yeah. But 2 years ago. And she was a British-French actress, singer, style icon, and a designer. And most of her career was in acting, actually, in primarily French cinema. So kind of interesting there. But yeah, just like some minor roles. And then she ended up going into a whole, I think like a singing career for a while. And then moved to France and then continued to work as an actress and singer in independent films throughout the rest of her life. So definitely a long career in the arts. And yeah, a lot more than I feel like I ever knew about her.
Yeah, same.
So she was born in London and her family was really wealthy. Her father was like the grandson of Sir Thomas Birkin, who was like the first baronet and a member of the wealthy Birkin family, Royal Navy lieutenant commander, World War II spy, like a very long, prominent history. And so she also was like distantly connected through her father to the film director Carol Reed, who she turned to advice about becoming an actress when she was a teenager. And then also her Carol Reed's nephew was an actor, Oliver Reed, and he told her it all depended on if the camera loved her, on whether or not she would do well in the field, which I feel like is a common sentiment that comes up sometimes. You're like, oh, the camera loves her, or like,
yes.
Kind of interesting. And then her mother actually was also an actress, best known for her work on stage instead of on film. Oh. And they were also very well acquainted with Margaret Thatcher. So,
wow.
Yeah, they had like a great little group of people that were very prominent. She also inspired is it a poem or a song called A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square by Noel Coward. So she was like the muse for that very early on in her life. And then her older brother went on to be a screenwriter and director, Andrew Birkin. So
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
They very were successful, prominent family.
Yeah. Yes, which is common when you have a lot of money, obviously. But yeah. But luckily, all kind of in the field that she wanted to go into. She was raised in Chelsea and described herself as a shy English girl. She said she was bullied for her looks. I suffered a lot because of my physique, especially at boarding school. The others said I was half boy, half girl. I had no breasts, not even a developing bosom. It was horrible. So, which is crazy because she's gone, like, she's very gorgeous. Like, and that has definitely been a large part of her legacy. She just has, it wasn't the curvy build that was popular at the time. She said she wanted to be as pretty as Jean Shrimpton, calling herself a bad version of her. So sad. She attended Miss Ironside School in Kensington and Upper Tyne School on the Isle of Wight. And then in 2021, she actually admitted she had started taking sleeping pills at 16 and never stopped.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then she actually got married really young, too. At the age of 17, she met a composer, John Barry, who she married in 1965, and whom she had her first daughter, Kate, in 1967. After he left for the United States, the couple divorced in 1968, and then she returned to live with her family in London and began auditioning for film and television roles in Britain and LA. She appeared in the swinging London scene in the 1960s, which I feel like perfect time period for like, you know, for her to be there. We've talked a lot about London in the 60s, I feel like.
Yeah, with like Mary Kwan. That was a big one.
And then we did like a Beatles episode, The Women Behind the Beatles. So great time to be in London. Very fitting for her. And her first role was an uncredited part in The Knack and How to Get It in 1965. And then also had a small role in Michelangelo Antonioni's Blow Up as a brunette model. At the time, the movie gained notoriety because she actually appeared in it nude.
Wow.
Yes. And she said that she did it kind of out of spite. John Barry told her she wouldn't have the courage to show up naked on set. And so she did.
Amazing, actually.
Yep. And then she also said on the day of her audition, she had no idea who the director was, but then ended up getting the role anyway. Apparently he was very prominent. I feel bad because I don't know who he is either.
That's okay.
She had a more substantial role in this counterculture era film called Kaleidoscope in 1966, and then also appeared as like a fantasy-like model in the psychedelic film Wonderwall in 1968. So maybe this is why I thought she was a model. She had a lot of roles where she played models.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though she was an actress. In 1968, she auditioned for the lead female role in the French film Slogan in 1969. Even though she didn't speak French, she actually got the role and co-starred along with Serge Gainsbourg, and she performed with him on the film's theme song, La Chanson des Slogan, which was one of the first of many collaborations between the two. They would go on to collaborate a lot. And then after filming that film, Slogan, she ended up relocating to France permanently. So then she got a role in the French thriller La Piscine, and then the movie allowed her to stay in France. She said, it saved me It allowed me to stay in France. I finished slogan and didn't go back to England. Though her heavy accent in French did eventually prevent her from getting some roles, it turned out to be an asset in her career because a lot of French audiences found it charming.
Oh, cute. I love that. Amazing.
Which is like really nice. And I feel like a lot of the times French people have like a stereotype of like being stuck up to like non-speakers. So I think it's kind of cute that they were like, oh, look at her trying.
Look at her trying. We like her, actually. Yeah, totally.
And then she said, without my accent, I would have had a very different career, which makes sense. So she probably got cast in roles where it would fit a little bit more to have that heavy English accent in her French. In 1969, Gainsbourg and Birkin released a duet, Je t'aime moi non plus. I love you, me neither.
Okay,
the translation of that. But Gainsbourg had originally written the song for Brigitte Bardot.
We have a Brigitte Bardot episode.
Yes, we do. And Birkin said that it was jealousy that drove her to sing it.
Jealousy of Brigitte Bardot?
I'm assuming, yes.
That makes sense. Yep.
Shortly after making the recording, they went for dinner at the Hotel des Beaux-Arts in Paris. And without saying anything, he put the record in the record player. And then all of a sudden, all the couples around them stopped talking with their knives and forks frozen in midair. And he said, I think we've got a hit record.
Wow.
Doesn't that sound like the scene in a movie?
I was just going to say, like, that's real life. That's crazy.
They like put it in and everyone's like, oh, I haven't heard this.
Like, we've got a hit on our hands, Miss Jane Birkin. I can like hear the exactly. What's the accent that they do in old movies called again?
Oh, transatlantic.
Yeah, the transatlantic. I can like hear him saying that to her in that accent in the old timey movie vibe.
It's so funny. The song actually caused a scandal because it had some sexual explicitness, and it was banned by radio stations in Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom.
Did it make it over to the U.S., I wonder?
I don't know.
It definitely would have been banned in America. America was banning everything.
It was in French, so I don't know if it made it as far as the U.S., but it went across Europe.
Yeah. I love a scandalous song. I can't wait to go look up that song now and look up the translation.
Je t'aime moi non plus. I love you, me neither. I know. Who knows? They probably said, oh, and then we sleep in each other's arms. And they went, oh, the scandal.
No. I'm looking it up. So, some deem the song's eroticism offensive. The lyrics are commonly thought to refer to the taboo of sex without love and were delivered in a breathy, suggestive style.
That's it.
So, I guess.
Cool.
It was that. Oh, wait. The groan, sighs, and Bardot's little cries of pleasure give the impression you're listening to two people making love. But wait, it wasn't Bardot. When the version with Bardot was recorded, the French press reported that it was an unedited recording of physical intimacy.
Oh, he must have released a version with Bardot.
Wow, this is a scandal.
Oh, okay. Birkin had heard the Bardot version and considered it so hot, and then said that she sang it because I didn't want anyone else to sing it.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he asked her to sing an octave higher than Bardot so she'd sound like a little boy. That's weird, dude.
Some translation says, I go and I come between your loins. You are the wave, me the naked island. Physical love is hopeless. Okay. That's like some of the like loose translation from French to
Interesting.
I love a scandalous song like that. Like my favorite part of history is when it was like, and it was so offensive they banned it from the radio, and it's like a mild innuendo to sex.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh man, Birkin did say during the recording process she got a bit carried away with the heavy breathing, so much
there it is. Yep.
In fact, that I was told to calm down, which meant that at one point I stopped breathing altogether. If you listen to the record now, you can still hear that little gap.
I can't wait to go listen to
that. Is so funny. Yeah, so the vision with Bardot was first, and then he was like, they broke up. So then he said, hey, Birkin, will you do this with me? And she went,
that is
yes.
Crazy revenge
on
your ex, actually. Like,
be like, I went and recorded it with a new woman.
It's because you left me.
Anyway, okay, in Italy, the head of the record label was actually jailed for offending public morality. So people were very offended by this song.
Wow, I'm obsessed.
Mm-hmm. And then of the whole working relationship with Gainsbourg, Birkin said, "It's very flattering to have the most beautiful songs probably in the French language written for you. But how much talent did I really have? Perhaps not that much."
But I'm sure she's better than she gave herself credit for.
Probably. So. We'll have to listen. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't wait.
MTAM made UK chart history when on October 4th, 1969, and in the following week, the song was at 2 different chart positions, despite being the same song, the same artists, and the same recorded version. The only difference being that they were on different record labels.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Weird.
It was originally released on the Fontana label because of the controversy, but then Fontana withdrew the record, which was then released on the Major Minor label. Fontana singles were still in the shops along with the Major Minor release, and so in October of 1969, the Major Minor release was at number 3 and the Fontana single at number 16.
Weird. Well, you get afraid of controversy and you suffer the consequences.
Yeah, interesting though, huh? Mm-hmm. Like the same song at 2 different places. At the time, it was the biggest selling single ever for a completely foreign language record, which makes sense. I mean, the whole thing's in French. Birkin appeared on Gainsbourg's 1971 album, History de Melody Nelson, portraying the Lolita-like protagonist. We have an episode on Lolita. In song and on the cover.
Literally our least favorite episode we've ever done.
Yes.
Because of the subject matter. But
it was so important. I still stand by that we needed to do it. Of course. But gosh, that one was a really tough one to record, you guys. That's why I said it with no enthusiasm. We have a Lolita. Oh, man.
Of course, though, it's a Lolita style.
I know, episode.
Right? I mean, music video or whatever.
Yeah. Well, he did tell her to sing like a little boy. Like Gainsborough had some weird crap going on. Just saying. I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right. Hopefully. Gainsbourg. Oh, well. I don't know. During the 1970s, she released 3 albums, all mainly written by Gainsbourg. And those 3 were Die Duda in 1973, Lolita Go Home in 1975, and Ex-Fan des 60s in 1978.
Huh.
Yes. She took a break from acting from 1971 to 1972, but so just 1 year. But then
took a year off. All right, good for her.
But then ended up returning actually as Brigitte Bardot's lover in Don Juan, or If Don Juan Were a Woman in 1973.
How connected her and Brigitte Bardot are.
I know. They actually kind of look similar. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
They have some similar features. Like I can kind of see it. Mm-hmm. She called Bardot fabulously beautiful, saying, "I observed Bardot in the tiniest detail to find a flaw in her. Her mouth, her nose, her skin, her hair. She was fabulously beautiful." It's kind of funny. She's like staring at her like, where are your faults?
Or it's like no, I'm not in love with her. I just stare at her constantly to try to figure out what's wrong with her. It's like, okay. That
same year, she had a supporting role in the horror film Dark Places with Christopher Lee and Joan Collins. And in 1975, she appeared in Gainsbourg's first film as a director, Je t'aime moi non plus. Yeah. After the song, which created a stir for its frank examination of sexual ambiguity and was banned in the United Kingdom by the British Board of Film Classification.
Now I want to watch it.
For this performance, she was nominated for a Best Actress Caesar Award and then also started modeling in tree advertisements for Lee Cooper jeans. So
amazing.
A little bit of modeling there. She did wear a lot of jeans. It's very on brand with her. So Gainsbourg kept writing music for Birkin after the breakup, including, so they were together.
Okay.
It doesn't really give any details about them being together other than they were together. So I don't know, you guys. They were together for a while. But he kept writing music for her. That's what's crazy,
that he was with Brigitte Bardot. They break up. He says, record the song with me. They're in a movie, her and Brigitte Bardot, where they're lovers. Mm-hmm. Well, the whole time she's still dating that guy who was originally with Brigitte Bardot. He had a type, I guess.
Yes, he definitely did.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I keep interrupting.
No, you're good. He kept writing music for her, including Baby Alone and Babylon, their first collaboration after their separation in 1980, and then Amours de Fentes in 1990, which was the last album he wrote before his death in 1991.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. So Birkin has said this was the album of the breakup when everything changed. All of a sudden, Sergei got me to sing of his wounds and his feminine side. It was very unsettling to sing about wounds that you have triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Fleetwood Mac could tell us about that.
Oh, yes.
While recording,
I was listening to Silver Springs, that song last night
So
when I was
good.
making dinner, and I was just like, oh, like this is the feminine rage song.
Yes.
So like you'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you.
As she's standing there singing next to him.
Full body chills every time I see that clip, see that movie. I mean, hear that song. It's just incredible.
It's so good. So
Anyways.
yeah, same vibe, kind of. While recording the album, she sang as high as she could and said she'd become tired of singing as the little girl who excites gentlemen in trains. I hate our world. She also chose Le Dessus Cheeks as a portrait of Sergei. She said it represents the modesty of feelings made up outrageously in blood red. La Dessus Cheeks means keeping one's true feelings deep inside, as fragile as a silk stocking.
That makes me think of Loving Him Was Red.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
There you go.
Loving Him Was Red. Ed.
And
Anyways.
fragile as a silk stocking.
Yes, or that's a bar, honestly.
Then she ended up starring in 2 films directed by Jack Dolian as Anne in Guys, my French. So
La
great.
Fille Protégée.
Sure, The Prodigal Daughter.
There we go.
And Alma in Le Pirate, which means the pirate. And was nominated again for another Caesar Award in that one. She said The Prodigal Daughter was the first time her performance had been well received, and it touched her deeply to be taken so seriously. Before
amazing.
working with Dolian, she did not know about his work and said no one had ever offered me a part like that or asked me to have a nervous breakdown. She cited this film as her favorite, saying Piccoli and I were really good. If I die, I would like the film to be shown on television even at midnight. When it was screened at Cannes, it caused a scandal. Why? Which led to an invitation for Birkin from Patrice Giroux to star on stage in La Face Suivante by Marvou et Notaire. What does all of that mean? Do not know.
I feel like it's a really interesting thing that happens over and over again of like beautiful women have to prove themselves that they actually are talented. And I don't know if it's something that's just charged by jealousy that people don't want a beautiful woman to also be talented, but that's like what it reminds me of is that happens like time and time again of like, oh, I was always in these kind of roles, but like finally I was in one that like they were taking me seriously and I could actually show that I knew what I was doing. And it's just interesting that happens. That it's like, sure, like I feel like pretty privilege. That's a thing, I think.
But I feel like there is like downsides to it.
Yeah, but there's like the other side of it where it's like, oh, well, you're beautiful. So that doesn't mean you worked for anything. That doesn't mean that you're talented, actually.
So I saw a TikTok actually this week because I was like binge watching before it got banned.
For 10 hours.
Yeah, I'm still not back on it. I refuse. It feels fishy.
I agree.
But there was this girl who was like talking about how she was like, as a woman, if you're not pretty, then you don't get any attention, which means there's less eyes on you, which should mean you're safe. But in reality, it means that if anything does happen to you, nobody will care or notice. And then she said on the reverse side, if you are pretty, there's a lot more attention on you, which makes you more of a target. But in the reverse side, if anything happens to you, like people will
they'll use that as a weapon.
Yeah, but also they'll notice. So then
true.
She's like, it's a downside and an upside either way. Like either you're not pretty enough to be a super big target, but nobody will care if you disappear. Or you're pretty enough to be a major target, which means there's a lot more people focused on you, but people will care if you disappear.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like there's no winning. Like it doesn't matter. You can't win either way.
Totally.
So yeah, so I feel like that's kind of part of it where it's like if you're pretty enough, you may get a lot of doors opened for you, but then you have to work harder to prove yourself.
That you're not just a pretty woman.
Yeah. Because, like there's probably a lot of people who get roles just because they're pretty. Because they're like, oh, it's not that big of a role. You're pretty. Stand here, And then, yeah.
It happens with men too.
Yeah, definitely.
But men don't get accused of that. Men just get taken seriously regardless of if they're pretty or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's honestly, guys, the disillusionment this year I'm like, I feel like I'm waking up from a horrible dream. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm like the Stepford Wives or something, and it's like, oh crap, I'm waking up.
This isn't good.
They're replacing us all with robots. Like literally, that's how it feels. Anyway.
And anyways, back
my
to
mental
Jane.
state's fine.
I feel you. It's all good.
Yeah.
Safe space to comment on that.
Okay. So anyway, she goes and performs with Patrice Cheroux on stage. And recalling her experience on the stage, she said, that was my first stage experience, which finally gave me the courage to sing at the Vatican.
Wow.
Yeah. So then she worked with another director, another movie that I don't want to try to say the name of, appearing as mistress of Austrian artist Egon Schiele, played by Matthew Carrere, and then also appeared in the Agatha Christie films, Death on the Nile and Evil Under the Sun, the original Death on the Nile. Yes, we do have an Agatha Christie episode, which is very fun.
I would one day love to do a giant web of how all of our episodes connect.
Oh, I know, right? That would take forever.
It would.
It would be but it's so cool.
And they would all connect, though.
They would. They all connect. But yeah, so she was in that, and then also collaborated with Rivette in her Love on the Ground and La Belle Nassau, which she was once again nominated for a César Best Supporting Actress.
Cool.
And then when she co-starred with John Gielgud in Leave All Fair in 1985, she won Female Artist of the Year in the 1992 Victoires de la Musique.
Amazing.
Yeah. So she finally won an award, which is awesome because I don't think she won any of the other ones. She was just nominated.
Yeah.
Then she appeared in Merchant Ivory's A Soldier Daughter Never Cries, which used her song, Dee Doo Da, and Merci Dr. Ray, another film. And the end title song for Le Divorce featured her singing La Un Amour, which was composed by Gainsbourg. And then in 2006, she played the title role in Electra, directed by Philippe Calvero in France. This is interesting because, like, we were alive, and like, but we weren't hearing about any of this because it was all in French,
yeah.
Yeah. So then she recorded the song Beauty on a French producer, Hector Zizou's album Strong Currents in 2003. The album actually brought together very well-known soloists and featured her alongside Laurie Anderson, Irene Grande, and Melanie Gabriel, among others. And then they also covered some songs by Nina Hines. She appeared on the cover art of Have You Fed the Fish by the singer-songwriter Badly Drawn Boy, who featured her image. Her daughter did some backing vocals on that album as well. And then in 2006, she recorded and released the album Fictions. And then in 2010, recorded a duet, Marie, with the Brazilian singer Sergio Dias, which appeared on We Are the Lilies, an album by Dias and French band Tahiti Boy and the Palm Tree Family, which also featured contributions from Iggy Pop. So
nice.
Yeah, she dived deep into the music world. And then did a little bit of modeling again. In 2016, she appeared in a campaign for Yves Laurent, shot by Heidi Semaine, which featured various female musicians, including Marianne Faithfull, Courtney Love, and Joni Mitchell. And then the same year, she had the lead role in La Femme et la TGV, a short film directed by Swiss filmmaker Teen. The film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Live Action Short Film. And in an interview, she stated that La Femme et la TGV would be her final acting performance, and she had no plans to return.
I mean, by this point, it's like 2010s. Like, she's been living a long, full life. Yeah. That's so fair.
So, yeah, she released one more collection of songs that Gainsbourg had written for her during and after the relationship, reworked with full orchestral arrangements. And it was just titled Birkin / Gainsbourg La Symphonique, and then performed live in Brussels to promote the album in 2017. And that's kind of the end of her career as far as that goes. So I know I just listed off a ton of movies and songs and everything else, and you're probably like, what the heck? But like, she did a lot.
Yeah.
Like acting and everything else, and like a lot of acting and singing. And I feel like no one really talks about that when they bring up Jane Birkin.
Yeah.
So
like, that was what her whole life and work was
oh, yeah.
The acting and singing. Yeah. Like,
she was in the Saint Laurent campaign because she was a musician with like Joni Mitchell. Like, That was her career.
That's what I was thinking. It's like Courtney Love, Joni Mitchell. Like, obviously those are iconic musicians, but I wouldn't put her.
No, I would never be like, oh, yeah, Jane Birkin, the musical artist. Like, that would never have crossed my mind. Like, so I think it's important to realize that, like, her career was so vast. Okay, a little bit about her personal life. I mentioned earlier that she married John Barry, the British composer and conductor. He was 13 years older than her.
And they got married when she was 17?
Yeah, I think so. Nice. Yes. And, well, at least they met when she was, oh, no. They met when she was 17. They got married when she was 18, maybe.
Okay.
But he cast her in his musical Passion Flower Hotel. And then their daughter ended up being a photographer, Kate Barry, who lived until 2013. Their marriage ended, obviously, in 1968, which I mentioned. She was insecure during the relationship. This made me so sad. She said she couldn't believe that the sophisticated, talented genius chose her and not any of the other girls. She didn't want him to see her with her tiny piggy eyes. So she would sleep with an eye pencil under her pillow and put it on if she woke up in the night, so that he would never see her without makeup on.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Also, she does not have tiny little piggy eyes.
Yeah. That reminds me of, have you ever watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Mm-mm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's really good. I've only watched like the first 2 seasons of it. But at the beginning of it, she's like has this relationship and she'll like wake up and like always put on her makeup before her husband does.
That's
to kind of like,
so sad.
You know, keep the appearances up and everything. It's very sad.
But like he went to the United States, he left her with her daughter in England, and then obviously had her romantic and creative relationship with Serge Gainsbourg, who was 18 years her senior, a bigger age gap, who she met on the set of Slogan. They were together for 12 years, and apparently there were like a lot of rumors and misreporting that they got married during the whole time.
Oh, interesting.
They never did. So
it's like Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn.
Yeah. They're like, they were married. Like, no, they weren't. But throughout that, she actually ended up becoming a French citizen. And then Birkin and Gainsbourg actually had a daughter who ended up becoming an actress and singer, Charlotte Gainsbourg. They separated in 1980 because of his alcoholism and violence. So, sounds like a gem of a human. She described him as a very difficult man to live with and said that during recording sessions, he would scream and hit her with a ruler if she couldn't sing a part. She took credit for helping him develop his style later in life, saying, "It's all about me. He listened to me a lot."
Well, I'm glad that she took that credit. I feel that is very deserved.
Her last relationship was with Jacques Doyle, who was a director, and with him, she had her third daughter, Lou. She said, "Meeting Jack was a real turning point in my career. In my private life, after I left Sergei, Jack and I lived together for 13 years and had Lou." She said she was surprised and happy to find out that Doylan was not an old man. They separated in 1993, and just saying that Doylan could not compete with her grief for Gainsbourg, who died in 1991.
That's sad.
It would be hard. I think about that a lot with like even Ariana Grande and stuff. Like, how do you compete with the grief that someone has for like a relationship that didn't work out, but that they loved, that then died? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that would be really tough.
And it's hard to, like, I can almost see both sides of it, you know? Like, I could understand why it'd be hard to be with someone who was grieving that, because, like, how do I compete with that? I get that. But also, like, that person should be able to grieve that.
Yeah.
Should be able to grieve that.
And, like, without it feeling like it's competing with you. Yeah. But it would be really hard to, like, have to. So she lived alone ever after that separation. And then he didn't cast her in his movies anymore because they weren't together. And then she felt pain for him going off with all these young girls making all these films all the time. And then she had a brief relationship with French writer Oliver Rollin. So that was like the last relationship out of all of them. In 2002, she was diagnosed with leukemia and underwent rounds of treatment, spending a lot of time with her 6 grandkids. Her daughter, Kate Barry, died in December of 2013 after falling from her 4th floor apartment in Paris.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea how that happens, but my gosh.
So horrible.
And then she mainly resided in Paris from the late 1960s onwards. She was described as a fixture of the Saint-Germain-des-Prés neighborhood on the left bank. In 2020, recalling 1970s Paris, she said, "It was a time of great innocence, and I don't think social problems were as they are today." I would agree. On the 6th of September 2021, it was reported that she was doing well after having a stroke. And then she ended up passing away on July 16th, 2023. She was found dead in her home in Paris. She was 76, and no cause of death was disclosed. There was a documentary, Jane, by Charlotte, about her relationship with her daughter, Charlotte, that was released in 2021, which was one of her last public appearances. And then her funeral took place at the Church of Saint Roch in the first arrondissement of Paris on the morning of July 24th. After her funeral, her remains were cremated at the crematorium, and then her ashes were interred at the cemetery in the grave of her daughter, Kate Barry, and in the same cemetery where Gainsbourg was buried. A lot of fans actually gathered to watch the ceremony on a large screen outside the church. And France's First Lady, Macron, and Minister of Culture, Rima Abdul Malik, and then a bunch of other important people all attended. So she was a very important fixture in French culture, it seems like. Some other things that I think are important to talk about with her. She was a humanitarian, like very deeply involved in a lot of causes. She worked with Amnesty International on immigrant welfare and also with the HIV/AIDS epidemic, which was so prolific at the time. And then also throughout her life visited Bosnia, Rwanda, and Palestine. And then she, even as a child, was demonstrating in the streets of London against capital punishment. In the 1970s, she campaigned for the right to abortion and appeared at a trial in support of 4 women accused of having helped a high school student have an abortion following a rape. I know we only study the American government, but that feels like an important case that we didn't talk about in school.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then she also campaigned against the far right in France, participating in protests denouncing the qualification of Jean-Marie Le Pen, and then performing at a free concert, which was organized in opposition to Marine Le Pen during the 2017 presidential election. She had a lot of support for immigrants, denouncing French government's policy toward undocumented migrants in 2010, and even protesting outside the residence of the Minister of Immigration. She announced that she was sponsoring a young Congolese who had requested political asylum. And in 2015, she was marching in Paris in support of refugees. In 2018, following the resignation of the French environment minister, she was one of the 200 artists and scientists who signed an open letter published on the front page of the Daily Le Monde titled "The Greatest Challenge in the History of Mankind," which urged politicians to act firmly and immediately in fighting climate change and the collapse of biodiversity. 2018, you guys.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, along with other French women, she cut her hair in support of Iranian women and girls who had been killed in protests at the death of Mahsa Amini after her arrest by the Iranian morality police, which I remember we talked about that. So yeah, she cut her hair in support of them. So like, just sounds like a wonderful lady, like all around, like genuinely so good. And yeah, she got some awards from the French government and stuff, and like even got the Order of the Rising Sun, which was a award for promoting cultural exchanges between Japan and France.
Wow.
So like a lot of things that I was like, I don't know how that ties into her life. Like,
but it's
how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she just was like a wonderful, fascinating person with a very long career and like a very important fixture in French politics and culture. And now we get to talk about the Birkin bag.
Okay, I was wondering, I'm like, we gotta talk about the Birkin bag.
Yes. So obviously this is kind of the way that she has cemented herself as a figure in American culture is through this bag. And one thing that she was known for, like more than anything, is she would carry this hand-woven straw basket everywhere she went. Like that was her purse, was this Birkin basket, as they would affectionately call it. And she had gotten it in Portugal. And she would take it with her to the market, to nightclubs, to formal events. Like everywhere she went, her purse was a picnic basket, essentially. Amazing. And I'll post some photos on the Instagram of her with her basket. There's plenty. And then her husband, Jack Adolian, intentionally ran over it with his car in the 1980s. Boo. So then I think she used a different basket for a while. But during this time, she met the executive of Hermes on an airplane.
Amazing.
Yes. So she was getting on an airplane and all of her stuff, like she was trying to put her basket in the overhead compartment and it tipped over and spilled and like all of her things went everywhere. And so she like gathered it all up and everything and then put it back up there. Mm-hmm. And then the executive, John Louis Dermas, was sitting next to her and was like, hey, why don't you have a bag? And she was like, oh, I just could never find a leather weekend bag that I liked. She's like, none of them fit everything. Like they just don't have anything. And so he was kind of talking with her about it. And then she said, why don't you make a bag that's 4 times the size of the Kelly that you can leave opened?
Amazing.
Yeah, because she wanted a bag she could like reach into and grab stuff.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to like open and shut it all at the time. And so she drew out the design of this bag on a sick bag.
Amazing.
Like the little puke bags in the airport. And then kind of passed it off to him and just said it needs to be a carry-all suitable for young mothers, you know, like based on the blueprint of one of their popular bags. And just said like, yeah, this is what I would want.
This is what it should be. Amazing.
And so he added upon her sketch, took inspiration from Hermes's Hot Corot's bag, and then eventually gifted her a black calfskin prototype of the Birkin, suggesting that it be named after her. And then in 1984, ended up creating a black supple leather bag for her based on the 1982 design, but just like improved a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then she actually used the bag initially, but later on in her life didn't anymore.
Amazing.
And it was for a couple of reasons. First off, she said she was carrying too many things in it. So then she was like, why would you ever need a second one? You only ever need one Birkin bag and that will bust your arm. They're bloody heavy. And then said, I'm going to have an operation for tendonitis in the shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because she was like putting a lot of things in it and it was just like really heavy. And then she said, you know, when I'm dead, not only will people remember me for Je t'aime mon noblesse, but they'll probably only talk about the bag.
At least in American culture, you know?
Yeah.
That seems to be the case, the Birkin bag.
Yep. But she didn't treat it like a lot of people treat Birkin bags.
That makes sense.
She had like a lot of unique touches she like to add to her handbag. She would tape like stickers of all of her favorite causes all over the bag. She would also put like handles with beads, charms, and ribbons all over it. Apparently, her original Birkin is actually on display in the Museum of London, or was as a part of an exhibition called Bags Inside Out. And she did have her initials embossed on the original. But I feel like she honestly would be really disgusted with what the Birkin bag has become. Yeah, she actually put one of them up for auction in 2014 and donated all of the proceeds to Anna's Africa, which was a nonprofit named after her late nephew. And obviously donated all of the money to charity. Mm-hmm. And then she also was paid approximately $40,000 in royalties annually in exchange for her name, because they're using her name. Mm-hmm. And she would just donate all of it to various charities over and over again.
That's cool.
And in 2015, she actually wrote a public letter to Hermes requesting her name be removed because she wanted the company to debaptize the Birkin Croc-O until better practices were in line with international norms can be put into place, because getting crocodile skin was really, really horrific. And so they actually ended up like adjusting the way that they got it, and then said that they had satisfied her with new reassurances. There has been a lot of like fake reporting. One of the reasons this came up is because the Walmart dupe.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about that.
Yeah, Walmart just released like a dupe basically of a Birkin bag for like $100 basically. Uh-huh. And like I didn't know like a ton about Birkin bags. My only association with them before was like Rory gets one from her boyfriend in Gilmore Girls. And she's like, oh my gosh. And they're like, yeah, it's a Birkin bag. But like they're ridiculous.
They're expensive. Yes.
So I was going to tell you a little bit about how hard it is to get one. They only produce a certain number of bags per year, and purchasing one directly from Hermes remains a lengthy and secretive process. You can't just walk into the store and say, one Birkin, please. Their resale value is incredibly high, and then the price, of course, depends on many factors like color, size, hardware, etc. But the most expensive Birkin sold at auction for $450,000.
That is what?
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Like, it's insane. And so that's why a lot of people jumped on like the Walmart one. They have one that's like $30 or they have one that's $100 depending on size. And a lot of people were like mad about it.
Yeah, that's crazy that I'm just like on like Hermes's website right now, just like seeing the Birkin bag, but like there's no price tags. Like,
you can't buy them. Like you can't just go and buy a Birkin bag.
Do you have to be like invited to buy one?
Yeah, you have to like request, I think, and then like be invited to purchase one. I've heard it's even crazier with like the mini Kelly, which is like the tiny little Grace Kelly bag. Apparently those ones are like even harder to get. I don't think they're as expensive, but like they're even more difficult to get your hands on.
I don't know anything about this. This
I didn't
is so
either.
Exciting.
I looked up a lot about it because I was really curious. And
the Kelly bag is quite classy, I will say.
Yeah. I think it's a way that a lot of celebrities notify that they've like made it, is that they'll have a Birkin. Because then it's like, sense. Oh, you got your hands on a Birkin.
Like you to come and get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this insane symbol of wealth, which is why like I'm all for Walmart having one. Like, destigmatize the wealth, please. Like, I think it's so stupid.
There's no reason why a bag needs to be $36,000, and if we can create something that can make people realize that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and they said the quality of the Walmart one is really good. It's a good bag. Like, it's not a $36,000 bag, but it's a good bag. Like,
that's
a good leather bag.
Crazy. I really did not know anything about this.
Yeah, it's insane. Apparently, it got pulled a little bit, so like they're not online anymore. But like some people have them. I don't know what the whole situation is going on. I don't think Walmart wanted as much people to pay attention to it as they have. And like it even got a nickname online. People were calling it the Workin, like the Walmart Birkin. So it got a lot of attention. But then I ended up seeing a lot of people talking about the Birkin bags in general, and just like Jane Birkin herself, and how this whole idea of like ostentatious wealth would just go completely against everything she stood for. And I saw a lot of people talking about how like she wrote the letter asking them to remove her name, but then they didn't explain that it was because of the crocodile sourcing. So there is some like misinformation where people are like, she hated the Birkin bag and like she wanted her name removed. And like, yes, but it was because of the crocodile skin that she wrote that letter. Other than that, like, I don't know if I don't think she loved the idea that it was there, but I don't think she like was trying to actively remove it. Like I said, she was getting paid in royalties and she was donating it all to charity. So I think in her own way. But it is kind of crazy that they were only paying her $40,000 annually when that doesn't even give you,
like, I don't
that's not even the cost of one Birkin bag.
That, I'm like, I feel like you owe her a little bit more considering like her name, and like is probably why that people even care.
Yeah.
How interesting.
So, yeah, super interesting. But I kind of love the fact that she was like, why would you ever need more than one?
So real.
Yes, because there's like Kardashians walking around with like, and I bring them up because I think every single one of them has been pictured with a Birkin bag. And they're not carrying anything in it. Like maybe their phone and a lip gloss. It's a giant bag. Like it's meant to be a carry-all. Like she wanted it for people to be able to put everything in it. And so it's a little crazy to see celebrities walking around with these Birkin bags that you can tell are like barely used.
Because it is just the status symbol.
Yeah. There's no way that there's anything in these.
I'm definitely just Googling celebrities with Birkin bags. And it's like, wow, there they all are with those huge bags.
And they're empty. You can tell that they're empty. Like a few of them, I think you can tell that maybe they have more in them. It looks like a few of them do. But one think piece I saw that I thought was really interesting is someone brought up the fact that they think that the new sign of luxury, like a new status symbol, is going to be like really worn in luxury items.
Oh.
So kind of like an idea that you have this really expensive bag,
but you've had it for a while,
but you're so rich that you don't even care that it's destroyed.
Oh.
If you look up Mary-Kate Olsen's Birkin, like type in Birkin and then Mary-Kate Olsen, which love Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Yes.
But like her Birkin is beat.
Like that's the point, right? You get things to use them, and if you're too scared to use them because they're so nice, I mean, obviously keep your things nice, but that's so funny because
it's a leather bag.
Beat up. It's a beat up. It
has
funny.
patina. The edges are like, you know, and you can tell she actually has stuff in it too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I think maybe luxury goods will come to eventually, is that like it won't be so much about keeping everything looking pristine. It'll be like actually
if you're
using
so
them.
rich that you don't care, which is better, and I think that's more sustainable. Like if you're gonna spend that much money, it's better to keep using the same thing until it is destroyed than it is to have 10 of something and keep it in pristine condition.
You don't
keep
need
it in your closet.
10 $500,000 bags. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like what the like that is so stupid. So yeah, it's like get one and then use it until it's like absolutely broken, until a handle falls off. Like I think
then get a new one. Yep.
Yeah, like I think Jane Birkin would be happier about that. Even like pictures I've seen with her bag with like the stickers all over it and like the beads. Like I can't imagine a lot of these modern celebrities who are so excited to get a Birkin turning around and putting stickers and beads all over their Birkin.
Oh, that's so funny. She looks so happy with her Birkin bag with the beads and the stickers on it. I love that photo.
And she stuffed that thing full.
That's amazing.
Yeah, actually. To the point where she was like, my arm is going to fall off. So yeah, it was just kind of interesting. Like, I think we've gotten to such this weird place of like wealth in America. You know, a lot of people are talking about oligarchy and of course we're in one. But like, it's just interesting to think about like how luxury fashion might change, especially as like duping culture gets more popular and everything. Like if everyone's able to have a Birkin, like what's the next flex?
Yeah.
And
because that's the thing is I feel like that's what rich people want, is they want a way to prove that they're better than people and that they are above. And you're right, if those certain things don't become status symbols anymore, then what's gonna become it, you know?
Yeah. But hey, I'm all for well-used luxury items. I think we could all get on board with that.
Second-hand luxury items?
Yeah.
Even better.
That's how a lot of people end up getting Birkins, is they will try and find them online for secondhand prices, and it doesn't mean that they're cheaper.
But they're there.
Yeah, but they're there, and they can actually get them without having to, like, I don't know, blackmail the director of Hermes. How do you even do it? Another funny thing about this whole bag saga is that there was a story, like a scandal that happened because of the Christmas hauls that influencers do, where this influencer, I don't even know who it was, it's her and another sister, she has a sister, that they claimed that they got like a mini pink Kelly from their parents for Christmas, and they like showed it on the screen, and everyone was like, no you didn't, because they were like, mini Kellys don't come in that color. Your family is like high middle class, but there's no way that your parents are like casually giving you a Kelly bag for Christmas. Like that's insane. And so they ended up finding out that they basically like they bought dupes and like faked what they got for Christmas in order to like look more rich, because so many people this year were talking about how like they live for the rich kids' Christmas hauls.
Totally.
So they were trying to serve on that department, and then so they said something like, oh sorry, like it's a dupe, like who cares? And then they ended up saying, like, the mom came out and was like, yeah, I got it from the Real, like sue me. And then the Real was like, we literally will sue you because we don't sell counterfeit. So, because that's the whole point of the Real is that it's real.
Yes.
So they're like, we don't sell dupes, and that is a dupe. Like, how dare you tell everyone you got it from us? So
that's so funny.
Yeah, it turned into this like whole thing. But that was another thing where people are trying so hard to look like they have this crazy level of wealth that they don't.
That's crazy. It's kind of like when everyone thought TikTok was really going to be gone, they were all making their confessions of like, I never did the workouts. Yes. I never actually drank the coffees. I never this. Ay.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. Like, I wasn't shocked, but I was still at the same time just like, oh wow.
Yep.
Like, I cannot imagine like getting that big off of something that you're not even doing.
I saw another TikTok too of someone being like, well, I was doing all of that. Yeah. Like, I didn't know we could have just lied about it.
Like, I was doing all of it.
I did every workout.
That's respectable. I appreciate that.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, it is a weird world that we live in.
Weird world. That's so interesting though, to learn about.
In honor of Jane Birkin, I hope that everyone, if you ever end up getting a luxury item in your life, I have no desire except, I don't know, I guess Adidas isn't luxury. I'm like, I would love a nice pair of Gazelles, but that's not luxury. Can you think of a single luxury item you want?
So funny. Like, I'd like a pair of Adidas shoes. Like, luxury item. Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I feel like,
I am thinking of the Gucci Adidas, so I guess that's
okay. There. Okay. I'll give you that one.
Okay. I was like, why is Adidas coming to mind? The Gucci campaign with Adidas was pretty great. But
the thing is like for me, I feel like I want like a Chanel bag.
Okay.
You know, like, but I also know Chanel kind of sucks from what we learned about her.
That's true.
But there are certain, like, I would like a nice bag at one point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, $20,000 bag. Like, maybe like a couple $100s for a really nice solid bag that I could like. Yeah. I like the idea of having items that like I could pass on to my, my children.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wouldn't want a lot of them.
Yeah.
But, I would like at least one good solid, like pretty bag, I think.
Yeah. I will say that's one of the things I do like about the Hermes bag is it doesn't have the Hermes logo like
that's
like across
true.
Because that's what I have a lot of issues with stuff. Like I hate the Louis Vuitton stuff because it's just like the LV everywhere, like iron press the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be a walking billboard for you.
Yeah. Or maybe not a Chanel bag, maybe a Coach bag is like what I mean. But like I don't think is that luxury? I don't know. I'm not rich enough to know the brands that are like considered not Chanel, Coach. I feel like I'd want like a nice something.
Hey, those are reasonably priced.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's like a couple $100s. Like, I don't go out and buy a couple $100 bag on a casual weekend, but like, I feel like I could get a really nice bag.
Yeah. I love that. You're like a couple $100 bag, and I'm like, a nice pair of shoes.
I mean, I feel that though.
A nice pair of tennis shoes.
I would really like to buy some running shoes. Luxury. I don't have any desire for like a Louis Vuitton luggage set though. Like no. I don't like that.
Well, it's luggage. It's getting thrown in the bottom of an airplane. Also,
I feel like having expensive luggage is a really good way to tell on yourself that would be a good suitcase to steal.
That's so true.
Like, unless you, one, fly private.
Yeah, that's probably what they do.
Another level of wealth. Or two, like you just keep your luggage with you at all times.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have like Louis Vuitton luggage, you're probably not like checking in at Southwest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, can you imagine? And then it just comes around the little thing and you're like, let me grab.
Yeah.
We are thinking outside of the box here a little bit.
I think we're trying to like fit ourselves into a tax bracket we don't really belong into. And it's like, oh, wait, they fly private.
Yeah. I was like, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, gosh.
Well, on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in today. And yeah, I guess if you're new to the show, that's us. We're putting on a show for you every week. Subscribe, like, leave a review, come talk to us and let us know what you think. Be nice. And we're nice. And anyways, it's kind of late. So I'm like starting to
you're good. We're a little part of the night. Yep. But thank you so much. And we will be back next Monday with another topic. I think we're covering your artist, right?
Yes, I'll be talking about my artist next week. Spoiler alert, we're talking about Judy Garland finally.
Yay. I'm excited for that one.
Excited.
That and then, on for the rest of the year. We're here for all of your feminine rage needs and all of your feminist art history.
And thank you and good night.
Bye.
Bye.